Hi, today I'm going to be showing you a quick video using an annotation technique that you can use with any poem or excerpt of prose. Today I'm going to be using the poem entitled Here by Philip Larkin. You can use this technique with your activity on Those Winter Sundays by Robert Hayden. So you'll see that I'll use three sections, the same three sections of your graphic organizer from Those Winter Sundays to annotate Here by Philip Larkin. So let's start by reading the prompt quickly. In the following poem, Here by Philip Larkin, published in 1961, the speaker describes a journey through two different places. Read the poem carefully, then in a well-written essay, analyze how Larkin uses poetic elements and techniques to convey the speaker's complex attitude toward the places he describes. Now I'm just going to scroll the first two stanzas and let you pause the video and read those. And same thing with the last two. I'll just let you pause the video so you can read the entire poem. So once you've read the poem, I want to show you the first step in this annotation technique. Since we're going to be looking for the speaker's complex attitude toward the places that he describes in the poem, it's important for us to remember that complexity doesn't have to be some difficult concept. If you break it down to thinking of it as a conflict or a problem or tension or ideas that struggle with one another within the poem, it's a little bit easier to identify. And if you've looked at your graphic organizer for Those Winter Sundays, you'll see that it's also easy if you identify that conflict or tension, if you go ahead and identify it as an abstract term or an abstract noun, it's definitely easier to convey in an essay as a complex attitude if it's an abstract noun. So let me show you what I did first. As I went through the poem, I highlighted things that I saw to be tense or to appear to have a conflict. And you can see that highlighted in green right there, especially when you get to the last two stanzas. The description becomes very heavy with these ideas of problems within the town or things or ideas that would be struggling somehow or be tense. So I just wanted you to see that all I did was simply highlight, or in your case on your paper, you would mark the text from the poem that you see that conflict. So you're actually going ahead and marking that evidence. So let me move you on to the next step. So what I marked as evidence in my poem, you'll see on the left side, I made myself some notes. So the harsh named halt, the swerving to solitude, it made me pose a question to myself that something stopped abruptly for some reason or something unwanted perhaps. And that made me think of these abstract nouns like commonplace, something that's very common or ordinary. Dullness came to mind. But also, as the description goes through the rest of the stanza, I thought of the idea of beauty, this listing of skies and scarecrows, haystacks, hares and pheasants, and the widening river's slow presence. That just sounded beautiful to me. So I went ahead and put the term beauty. Now you can see as I go down, it's not completely packed with questions and abstract nouns, but I do pose a few questions and I do write words like abandonment, isolation, silence, obliviousness, and ambivalence. So again, feel free to pause this at any time to read those. I don't want to drag the video out with reading over every annotation I made. So you can see that this is the first two steps. Now, when I move on, you'll see it's kind of come together. These are the three areas of your graphic organizer. So now I have my evidence that's marked in the middle. I have my conflict or tension, these ideas of complexity on the left side. And then I have my poetic techniques that now I have my evidence mark. I can kind of go ahead and write down the beginning of ideas of how these poetic techniques are being used. For example, this listing of sort of alliterative phrases that open up the description of the first place And you can see this repetition of consonant sounds here with these very short phrases. As I moved down, I did make a note that these negative verbs that imply the sense of chaos, things that are clustered or scattered or crowded, um, and this chaos in such a slow moving place that's being described is kind of ironic. So, anytime you see a contrast, you can definitely analyze that and write about it. I also make note of there's visual imagery and what it does, as well as figurative language and what it might do. So keep in mind that if you can go ahead and make very short notes or the beginnings of ideas of what these poetic elements or techniques are doing, you've done a lot of the brunt work for a response, for a thesis or a body paragraph.